Hello there, everybody. I'm very pleased to meet you. My name is Aristide Duplessis. I'm the co-principal cellist of the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra here in Durban. I've been here since 2015. And I just want to say before I begin that I feel extremely privileged and extremely happy to be here with you today at the very first South African String Convention, organized wonderfully by Marichen Meyer. I think it's a fantastic initiative, and I think it's really great that I can be here with you today and share what knowledge I have with you. To dive right into it, what I want to focus on today is basically our routine and our consistency, which is an attitude that the sooner it is adopted, the better. We often hear many of our mentors, our teachers, our role models, and so on say things like you must be consistent, and it is true. But I think a lot of us struggle to find that consistency. And I don't mean by struggling to find time, I mean struggling to find exactly what to practice. So a quote that I'd like to share with you comes from the great cellist from the 20th century, Gregor Piatigorsky, who in his younger days, in his 20s still, he was the principal cellist of the Berlin Philharmonic for a short while under Furtwängler, and he eventually found himself in the United States playing chamber music for the majority of his career with Jascha Heifetz and Schnabel and Rubinstein. And what I would like to do is share a quote by him. He said to his students in his masterclass at the University of Southern California, where he taught for many years, he said to them, "You don't need to be a genius to know your shortcomings, but you need to be a mighty intelligent person to know what you are good at. That is your obligation, to know what is good, and to take everything that you don't like about your playing and convert it into something which is likable." So that's quite a statement from Mr. Piatigorsky, but what really stuck with me was knowing what one is good at. And not only is it a big time saver, but it is also very empowering. You know, for somebody to know that they have a good natural soutien stroke, or that they have a good vibrato, or that there are so many aspects: shifting musical taste, imagination, sound quality, sound production. So to know what one is good at is very important. I recommend everybody to film themselves as often as possible, to record themselves, hear what they like and hear what they don't like, and bring them together. Now, to take what one doesn't like, like Piatigorsky said, you don't have to be a genius. It doesn't take long to hear in a recording. We all have this problem that when we hear ourselves in a recording, we are like, it's like hearing your own voice in a recording. That's not how you sound at all, because you're listening to yourself with another set of ears. So that's basically what Piatigorsky means, is that we must find what we're not good at and bring it to the same level as what is very good. So for myself personally, I brought a list of things. I said that we have to listen to ourselves. What's very important to remember is that each and every single one of us is unique. There's no sort of stamp on what we need to practice. Okay, yes, the typical idea is practice scales, practice arpeggios, practice open strings. Probably more important than the other two, but that's what goes through all the years, the beautiful bow phrasing and sound. But, for example, myself, I have a few things which I consider myself not to be good at, or I have quite a few things which I consider myself not to be good at. And I'd like to share them with you today very briefly, and I'm going to share one of the exercises in the comments. Marichen is going to post it, that we can download. It's very short, but it's the one which really works for me the most. When I was younger, and perhaps still today, I find myself often having such good musical intentions that then when I hear a recording, there's nothing there. You know, I thought I phrased it this way, but it sounds like that almost. And here's why. The reason why is because I'm not sustaining enough with my bow, I'm not making enough of a diminuendo, that kind of thing. So I had to come up with an exercise for that. So the very first one I'm going to share with you is what I call my phrasing exercise. So I decided to start, it's something like this. That's the pattern. But what I do is I start soft and crescendo and then decrescendo. So that's the first one. I go etc. In the second one I actually start from here. This one I make a swell in the middle. So just to teach us to lighten up at the frog and the tip, and this is very useful for bow changes later on. The third one, I go it's the other way around. From here I make a diminuendo. This is the sort of classic way that a bow goes, a diminuendo and a crescendo, but I try to control it and I try to combine it with good vibratos. In general with phrasing, you know, when it's lower I vibrate a little bit faster, when it's more intense I vibrate wider, and that kind of thing. And then the last one is that's a little phrase there almost, and then because I often find myself being indifferent to what I'm doing with my bow. You know, I'll be playing and feeling it and really going for it like we all do, but I forget I have to do something with my arms. So for me that's a very important one. Another one that I work on is vibrato, which I think all of us need to improve at one point. And how I do that is I use a metronome at 60. You know, I play sextuplets, quintuplets, quartuplets, triplets, duplets, and single notes. So if the metronome were on 60, if the metronome were on 60, I would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, like. I speed up again. I do that over there. I do it with the third finger in thumb position, second finger in the 3-finger positions to really use that joint, and that's my favorite one of them on the C string, like most cellists who are wannabe double bass players in orchestra often. So that's what I like about vibrato, is to really try and make it as even as possible, even when we're in a slow tempo, not to have it like a light switch, you know, that it's on, off, to really keep it like this. And what's important about that is that it sounds very round and beautiful, it projects, and it also just makes one a more relaxed player. When a vibrato is balanced, something like, you know, when a vibrato is balanced and sounding good, the arm and hand are in the correct position to play that note. I'll get onto that later with a position exercise I have, but I thought I'd throw that in now to just explain what the vibrato is about. Another one that I think I'm not good at that I work on is playing fifths. Often in orchestra it's very interesting, you know, when something like fifths come, like in the Tchaikovsky violin concerto. So to tune the fifth, everybody, it was very out of tune now, so you know, we often find ourselves going to try and find it. But a very good way to adjust fifths is with pressure. Just imagine if my hair and my stick are two strings, then we sort of pivot to find the perfect balance, because the more a string is pushed down, the sharper it goes, the less it is pushed down, the flatter. So if one can find the, I don't know if you can see my finger from there, but basically so on. That's a very good way. So I play sort of half chromatic scales in this. I sort of go, of course I do them very slowly. I'm just going quickly now to demonstrate. That also develops your ear into hearing fifths beautifully. So if you're a cellist, a violist, or a violinist, it really helps when one actually tunes the instrument. If you're like me and you believe that we should only have one fine tuner, especially if you have a very light tailpiece to improve the sound, then you find yourself doing that often, which isn't that difficult actually once one gets used to it. Actually, the strings stay in tune more often. At least I like to tell myself that, because otherwise I'm going to find myself doing this all day. But the next one I'm going to dive right into again is the position exercise, which I have. And what's wonderful about that is that it's based on a very well-known Popper etude. So there's a Popper etude that we all know painfully. It's and so on. So I decided to practice this slowly. Listening very carefully to all of the intonation. And then also the same way up, right back to where we started. And the reason for this is that, okay, you have to remember what notes you're playing. When I demonstrated quickly, I didn't actually. I don't know if you heard that, I made a little bit of a... Anyway, so we're going through the hand. We're learning and listening at the same time, that we get bigger as we go down. That's how the Popper etude goes. I decided to add an extension one as well. So again, for the same reason, we're learning the positions slowly and learning their changes at the same time that we're learning them. Then I decided, okay, that's not enough. I want to add a thumb position one. So I decided to go here. And this one is diatonic. Again, practice them slowly. I'm just demonstrating the pattern to you over here. And that goes from basically the octave. Then I had another one also from and so on. So what is the sol for? Why am I doing this? I'm doing this and this. And the reason is to learn the positions. But what I add on top of it is a very nice vibrato exercise. So I remember the aspect which I covered earlier on, which was that a vibrato is must be balanced and sounding good, then it's in the right position. So we're basically learning the entire instrument. One could say you're learning the cello, learning the fingerboard by doing this, because after you've done these patterns, these variations if you like, we play through them again nice and slowly with a good sound and a good vibrato. So of the extension. And vary the vibrato. Play fast, narrow, wide, slow. You'll learn vibrato is possible with the thumb. So, after we've done that, I like to take another Papa etude and vary on it. With different articulations. So I'll play it slurred. I'll play it soutillé. Actually, that's something that I realized I'm good at, so I don't really do that one that often. One with martelé in the different parts of the bow. Like, and so on. So that's basically the sort of daily routine that I do, that I found for myself, which is unique to me. So I want everybody to go and think about this, record themselves doing different exercises, playing pieces, and find what you're not good at, which is quite simple, and to work on them, and to also know what is good, to know what tools you have to make something beautiful, and then you can really be conscious and empowered by it as a musician. And then things will start to come together. And this is, in my opinion, how we build consistency in our practicing, that we find something to really work on, and something that we need to work on daily. And I think it's really important that we do this, and I think it really makes music a lot more fun, a lot more attainable artistically, because our bodies are out of the way. And it just makes us happier once we can relax and know that we have everything in our hands and everything in our power to fix and to work on and to make into something really beautiful. I wish everybody a lot of good health, a lot of fun practice, and hopefully we'll see one another soon in person when all of this madness has finished. Thank you very much.